In this Circuits of the Past video, we'll show you a lap around the 1958 layout of the Boavista F1 Circuit in Porto, Portugal. In Portuguese, it's known as Circuito da Boavista. The lap on the Boavista Circuit was filmed by Miguel Santos, who lives in Porto. He was so friendly and welcoming and very happy to make this video available for the Circuits of the Past channel. Miguel has a YouTube channel of his own too, named aurafilms.com. On his channel you can also find a full 1 hour and 20 minute long documentary all about this circuit. If you have some footage from an old circuit that you wish to share with the Circuits of the Past, please contact us on info@circuitsofthepast.com. To film the old street circuit, it was a bit of a challenge because most of the roads are one way and they go in the opposite direction to which the circuit ran. So Miguel, not put off, found a nifty solution. He installed his cameras on the rear spoiler of his car and drove the track in the opposite direction. So what you'll be seeing is a reversed version of that original video, and that's the reason why you'll see all the other cars driving backwards. Another problem with reversing a video is the sound, so we've had to replace the car noise with some music in the background. We hope you enjoy it. Meanwhile, we'll tell you a little bit about the history of the Boavista Circuit of Porto. The motorsport history of Porto goes right the way back to 1910. That year, the first car races were held in the city on a racetrack for bicycles. The Boavista Circuit was used for the first time in 1931. The layout of the first version of the circuit was very simple. 2 long straights up and down Avenida da Boavista, the boulevard that gives the name to the circuit. And at the end of both straights was a hairpin with a radius of 10 metres. This city AVUS version, if you will, of the Boavista Circuit was also used in 1932 and 1933. There were plans to extend the street circuit to a triangular layout instead, which closely resembled the layout of the Circuit of Reims in France. However, in 1934 there was a huge accident on the street circuit in the nearby city of Espinho. It cost the life of 5 people, and the organisers decided to cancel all racing events for that year. For the next race we jump to 1950. Most of Europe was in ruins after World War II. However, because Portugal was not really involved, it gave some opportunities for sporting events to take place in the country. In 1950, the layout of the Boavista Circuit was finally changed, and now we had a length of 7.775 kilometres, or 4.8 miles. The start-finish was now at the harbour-front Esplanada de Rio de Janeiro. Then it continued on Avenida da Boavista and twisted its way right the way through the small neighbourhoods back to the start-finish again. The Boavista Circuit of Porto was a real street circuit, with all the elements of a city like tram lines, curbs, cobblestones, drains, trees, lampposts, pillar boxes, and so on. Feels like a circuit a bit like the man of TT. In 1952 the layout was changed just a little bit, and now it was a bit more twisty, but still extremely fast, and with the length of 7.406 kilometres or 4.6 miles, it was a tiny bit shorter too. In 1956, the Automobile Club of Portugal came to the idea of bringing Formula 1 to Portugal. On the 24th of August 1958, Formula 1 finally arrived in Porto. Great names in motorsport competed on the Boavista Circuit, like Stirling Moss, Mike Hawthorne, Jack Brabham and Graham Hill, but also the first female driver for Formula 1, Maria Teresa de Felipe. The first Portuguese Grand Prix was won by Sir Stirling Moss. Over 100,000 people attended the race, according to reports at the time. The first Formula 1 Portuguese Grand Prix also saw an act of sportsmanship by Sir Stirling Moss too. Moss came to the defence of his countryman and title rival Mike Hawthorne, who faced a penalty for having pushed his car against the driving direction after a spin. Moss persuaded the stewards not to disqualify Hawthorne, so he retained his second place and the 6 points that came with it. Hawthorne would eventually win the Drivers' Championship by a single point over Moss. In 1959 there was a Formula 1 Portuguese Grand Prix again, but this time it was held on the Monsanto Park Circuit in the capital Lisbon. However, in 1960, Formula 1 hop, skipped and jumped its way back to return to the Boavista Circuit in Porto. This edition of the Portuguese Grand Prix was a race of attrition, with only 4 cars reaching the finish within 5 laps of the winner, Jack Brabham. Accidents and mechanical failures ended the race for future world champions such as John Surtees, Phil Hill, Graham Hill and a few others too. In the 1960s, the Boavista Circuit became outdated and needed some renovation. Also, the FIA demanded that the tram lines would be removed, because in those days the tram lines were the main way of transporting around the population of Porto. It wasn't acceptable for the city council. You thought porpoising in modern day F1 cars would be a problem? Wait till you saw those tram lines. After 45 years of absence, racing cars returned to the Boavista Circuit in 2005 for the Porto Historic Grand Prix. This new revival was held on a new, shorter version that made use of a part of the old circuit. The event was repeated again in 2007 and again in 2009. In 2007, the new Boavista Circuit was improved to allow for more and better competitions, and during the years 2007, 09, 11 and 13, it hosted the FIA World Touring Car Championship. However, in 2015, the Porto City Council decided to suspend all races. Due to the withdrawal of the support from the Turismo de Portugal, a Portuguese government institute, the city of Porto was unable to host any more events on the circuit. So, after a short revival, the Boavista Circuit in Porto was abandoned once again. We're almost back to the start-finish straight now, but actually this start-finish straight no longer exists. It was moved 150 metres to the east in 2001, so we'll end our lap on this new road. I hope you enjoyed this lap of the Boavista F1 Circuit, and thank you so much to Miguel for supplying the footage. If you'd like to see more footage of old racing circuits, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to click on that notification bell too so that you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for watching.